on West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. We are under Commander General Yohana. If it's not under Commander General Yohana, it's not the truth, you understand?
That's right.
We've been bringing this truth out since 1969 that blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans are the true biblical Jews of the Bible, man. And our oppressor, the colonizer, you understand, who the world knows as the so-called white man. He is the devil that the Bible speaks of. Absolutely, you understand?
Right.
I mean, listen, it's so important, it's so heavy that we're bringing this out, man, because if you go into the so-called, if you go into this Christian church, man, you go into all these different religions, they always talk about the enemy. The enemy. Who's the enemy, you know? It's almost, it's mysticism associated with who our enemies are, you understand? And 9 times out of 10, we get it in our mind because of what we've been taught, that our enemy is our own brother.
Right.
You know, but as blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, we got real enemies out here, man. And guess what? The so-called white man is our enemy. You know what I'm saying? Like, he is our enemy according to God, man. So if we have an enemy, if we have an oppressor that's killing us and murdering us and raping us and causing us to hate each other, you understand? Do we pick up arms and fight him back? Is that how we get out? Is that how we come out of this hell that we in? La, you understand? It means no. Like, we gotta actually turn back to the Most High, man, and start keeping these law, statutes, and commandments. And this is how we put our spirit back on, and this is how we're gonna take our rightful position in the earth back. You understand? If I could, let me get. We're gonna start off in Deuteronomy 28 and 68. I always like bringing this scripture out because a lot of times people do not like associating the so-called white man with being an enemy to the black man, despite the fact that we know he's killing us, despite the fact that we know history, like, you know, it's nothing but history buffs in Israel, you understand? Amongst blacks, Latinos, and natives, you got so many history buffs that can tell you, they can uncover a stone and tell you everything about it, you understand? So this is the history that the Lord has given us, telling us who our enemy is, man. This is why the scripture is so important. You got that?
Con, sir. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. And the Most High shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
It said the Most High shall bring thee into Egypt again. You understand? Egypt, like, we think that Egypt is what Egypt is today, like that. Those people was called Mizraim. You understand? In the Bible, that was the ancient, what you would call the Egyptians. Egypt itself means bondage. You understand? Like, the Bible defines Egypt as being bondage. You understand? So read that from the top of the good.
Con. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. And the Most High shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
Into what?
Into Egypt again.
What does Egypt mean?
And the Most High shall bring thee into bondage again.
There you go. So the Most High shall bring you into bondage again. Keep going.
With ships.
With ships. Why is this important? You know what I'm saying? Like, we were slaves. Like, anybody, we can all agree that if you read the Bible and have a little understanding of the Bible, the Israelites were slaves and where? We were enslaved where? In Egypt. Right? Everybody can agree with that. All the so-called Christians, they can agree that we were slaves back in the Bible too. The Israelites were slaves to the Egyptians. The Most High said, I'm going to bring you into bondage again with ships. This is so important because this is from my history books. How did the so-called black man get over here? You understand? They always try to bring out, slavery was a thing that blacks did amongst themselves for many years, for many centuries. This is what they always say. They always say that the black man always enslaved the black man, you understand?
Right.
And that's a lie. That is an absolute lie, you understand? Just because we have melanin, or just because you have color or a hue to your skin, that does not mean that you're the same people, you understand?
Right.
The people that had us in bondage were Hamites, according to the scripture.
Right.
You understand? They were Hamites. We are Israelites. You understand? So when they say you bring us into bondage again with ships, the so-called black man, Latino, Native American, we the only people that came by way of ship into slavery, man. You understand? This is talking about the transatlantic slave trade right here in the Bible, man.
Right.
And this is why it's so important. Keep going.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. By the way whereof I spoke unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again.
That means that when we were hearing when we were hearing this message from the Most High, we were actually in our homeland. You understand? Like that whole Middle East region and stuff like that, that's Israel. You understand? That's our homeland, man. We were in our homeland when we was getting this message. This is how prophetic this book is, man. The Lord said we shall say it no more again. Does that mean that you can't get on a plane and go to Israel? Understand? Like, no, it don't mean that. But at the end of the day, we not ruling Israel at this point.
Right.
We not the ruling class of people. We don't have a government set up over there. You understand? The Lord is saying, like, you ain't gonna say it again. You understand? This is talking about blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. We shall not see that again. So the Lord just said in that one scripture, just right there, said, read that part again.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. By the way whereof I spoke unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again.
If that's the case, the so-called Jewish man that's over there right now, he has to be an imposter, man. The Lord just said we shall see it no more again. We should not be running that part of the earth. We should not have our government set up in that part of the earth. You understand? We just got it from the scripture. Go ahead, bro.
So, like I said, I don't know. I'm not trying to go off topic, but it kind of has something to do with it. The so-called Jewish man that's living in Israel today, you can tell he's not from that area because Israel today has the second highest form of melanoma in the world. I can't remember what the first one is, but it's the second highest form of skin cancer. Well, right. That means if you're from that area, you shouldn't be having that.
Right.
You know.
That's a good point you made. And that's a heavy point you made. You understand? It's almost like the Most High puts you in a land in which you can't survive. Like that's not what the Most High does. Like them Jewish people in Israel, they are not the true biblical Jews of the Bible, man.
Right.
Blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, we are the true biblical Jews of the Bible, man. You understand? Like we seeing an imposter right now through scripture. You understand? Keep going. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. And there you shall be sold unto your enemies. Unto your friends.
Unto your enemies.
Unto your equals.
Unto your enemies.
Unto your neighbors.
Unto your enemies.
And saying, there you shall be sold unto your enemies. You understand? You so? Yeah, go on. They say, there you shall be sold unto your enemies. You understand? Like, for all the history books out there, who were we sold to?
God.
Like, it's no secret, even though they're trying to make it a great migration, like we agreed to come over here on slave ships, and we agreed to be thrown off the side of ships and cargo slave ships, and we agreed to be murdered by the millions, you understand, coming over here.
Right.
That's what they're trying to teach in school. Matter of fact, that's what they're teaching in schools.
Right.
In the Great Migration. You understand? That's what they actually call it, the Great Migration.
Come.
You understand? Read that part one more time.
Come. And there you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen.
They say there you shall be sold unto your enemies, right? For bondmen and bondwomen. Like we were sold to the so-called white man, you understand? The colonizer. Our oppressor. We were sold to him, man. As slaves. Men, male and female slaves, man. Like, we have a real enemy out here. We ain't got time to be enemies with one another. You understand? People.
Come. And no man shall buy you.
They say no man shall buy you. What does that mean? When they say no man shall buy you, you understand? That means that no one's going to redeem us, man. No one's going to come back and say, you know what? Because you know how they always say, we supposed to be African Americans, and this, that, and the third. And if that's the case, you got a lot of Hamite armies over there. You know, I mean, they got spears, they got everything. They got little poison insect, little blow whistles. You see what I'm saying? Like, they got them old AK-47s that America giving them. You see what I'm saying? Like, what African nation came over here and fought for the black man over here? You understand? Good.
Slacky, sir, if I may, too. And what you're bringing out, Slacky, sir, is a great point because what's really, like you said with the history buffs, real history buffs know that a lot of Africans, even before Hamites, even before Christopher Columbus came, were coming over to the Americas. They knew their way because actually you don't even need a sailing ship to get over because there's a current actually in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean that will just push you over here to the Americas. So they can't say, well, they didn't know where they were taken. They did know. They just knew we weren't their people, and they wanted us out of that place.
Right. And what you're hearing from is a teacher right here. You understand? Like, this is your right out. You understand? Teacher from both sides. You understand? Like, hey, what you bringing out is so heavy, man. You understand? Like, them Africans, if they wanted to come over here and redeem us or, take back the lost people that they just sold because, you know what they always say? They didn't know it was going to be as bad as it was. You understand? Well, you know as bad as it is, why didn't you come over and save us? Because, like Elijah said, they knew that we are separate people. You know what I'm saying? Just because we got the same, just because we got the same skin complexion, don't make us the same people. You got dark skinned East Indians. Everyone knows that they're not our people. We never get mistaken for an East Indian. You got East Indians darker than me. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's one of those things where when the Most High is bringing out our enemy, we like to fight against it. You understand? Because we don't have a culture. Like, we have a culture according to these scriptures, our culture, our language, our identity has been taken from us. So we want to join any kind of movement that we can to feel like we got some kind of attachments to our home. You understand? When all we got to do is get into this Bible, man. And this is how we get back to our culture and find out who he is and put our spirit back on as a black man and black woman. You understand? Like, we got to get into these scriptures and realize, man, the Lord has given us an entire culture. Like, this Bible, you understand? This Bible is not a religious book, man.
Right.
Like, it became religious dealing with Christianity.
Right.
Because they don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Right.
You understand? It became a religious book. This is a history book right here. This is a book full of laws, man. A book that's going to raise a nation from the pits of hell. You understand?
Right.
This is the black man's records. Like, we just came out of so-called Black History Month, right? What do they teach? Black History Month. What's the first thing they start putting on TV? What's the first movie they start playing?
Roots.
What's the first movie? Roots.
Roots.
I mean, you see Roots all month long. Color purple. As if like black people, our origin has been slavery. Like, there was no black people on the earth before slavery. Like, if you didn't know better, like, how many black people can actually speak on who we were before slavery? If we get taught this as a young kid, if we're not taught our true heritage and our true culture, we think that we thought that we was conceived in slavery, like that's our inception as a people. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, yes, a master, and bowing down and being submissive to the so-called oppressor. Like we would think that that's our inception, man. No, we have a rich history, man. We come from kings. We come from men who gave their life, you understand, to preserve these records, man.
Right.
Like, that's the people we are. We are a people of resilience, man. We are a people of spirit. We spirited people, man. You understand? We come from the line of who the world knows as Jesus Christ. We know as Yahweh. You understand? We come from it. That's our culture, man.
Right.
But guess what? We'll never know it, man, because Christianity has taught us that this is a religious book, man.
Right.
You understand? We have real enemies out there. A black man should never be your enemy. That's not saying that you're not going to have no issues, no disagreements with a brother or nothing like that. But what it's saying is, man, you should be, you know how they say, you should be quick to forgive, you understand? You should want to resolve whatever issues you have with another brother or sister, you understand?
Right.
Because at the end of the day, that's not your enemy. You understand? A lot of times we hold grudges towards each other. But this oppressor that's put us in these conditions and put us against each other, we give him a free pass. Like he ain't did nothing. You understand?
Right.
We don't even like talking about the conditions of our people in front of him because we're afraid of offending him. You understand? Like, this is what we've come to because we don't look at him as our enemy because we've been taught to love everybody except each other, man.
Right.
The Lord, like, these are not my words. These are not the words of the ISUPK, you understand? The Most High just gave us the description of who our enemy is, man. And this is so-called white man. If I could, drop down to Psalms 83 and 2, brother, for sure.
Come. I'm gonna read it. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 83, verse 2. For lo, thy enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. Verse 3.
Let's say, for lo, my enemies that read stuff from the top again.
Come. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 83, verse 2. For lo, thy enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head.
They make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. You understand? Like, they've made an agreement, and they that hate thee have lifted up heads. Like, what you see happen to Trayvon Martin, what you see that happen to Sandra Bland, and Eric Gardner, Philando Castile, you understand? That's them lifting up the head and murdering us, man. You understand? Like, the Lord say, for those like enemies, not our friends. Like, a lot of times we think that we're supposed to be equal to this beast. You understand? That's what so-called white man is. He's a beast, man. We think that we can rationalize with a beast, man. Like, think like Commander Johnny Hahn always bring out the example. Like, if you got a lion in front of you, like, do the gazelle, right? Do the gazelle sit there and reason with the lion? You say, hey, lion, let me talk to you, man. Try not to eat me today. You understand? I'll do whatever you need me to do. I'll work as hard as you want me to work. You understand? Just on purpose. Like, do the gazelle do that? Do the gazelle get the hell away from the lion?
Come.
Away from him. You know why? Because that gazelle knows that lion has one thing in their mind. You understand? And it's to destroy him.
Right.
You know? Like, we, on the other hand, we make deals, we make treaties with a beast, man, whose only job is to destroy us, man.
Right.
And like, we don't understand it because we don't know that this is our enemy.
Right.
Like, how many of us, you understand, like, we look at our brothers and we put our brothers down. You understand? We put our brothers down and, you know, you actually say, man, that brother's lays down, we want to work and stuff like that. That's why we in conditions we're in. No, that's not why we're in the conditions we're in. There shouldn't be no brother that has to work, you understand, with all the blood, sweat, and tears that our forefathers had put in, you understand?
Right.
The same way that they over there giving them Jewish people $3 to $5 billion a year to fund their economy and their military, you understand?
Right.
Who's put in more work than us? You understand?
Con.
Who's done more and died more and bled more, you understand?
Con.
We had, man. We had. But that whole thing is to lift up the head. Keep on.
Con. Book of Psalms, chapter 83, verse 3. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
So I say, listen, they have taken crafty counsel against thy people. What's crafty counsel? Like, look, give me an example of crafty counsel. You got something for me?
Counsel, like, you were in charge, I guess, like the judicial system.
So what would crafty counsel be?
Setting up a way, like putting drugs in your neighborhood.
There you go. There you go, absolutely. And you bring out a heavy point, you feel me? You know, Oliver North and Ronald Reagan, with bringing crack into the black community, you understand? Like the whole war against drugs. That's crafty counsel. Go ahead, bro.
It's like you said, with the treaties that they made with the natives, is that crafty counsel?
Listen, any treaty that he makes, any treaty that our person makes is crafty counsel.
Come.
Because we know he's not capable of fulfilling his promises, you understand?
Come.
That's not what he did. That's why we call him the devil that the Bible speaks of.
Come.
He's the biggest deceiver on the face of the earth.
Come.
He's not keeping out one treaty with the North American enemies, you understand?
Come.
Not one. What treaties have you kept with black people? You understand? Like
Come.
every 4 years, black people told us to go out and vote. You know, we go out and vote. This is how we're going to change things, you understand? Like, nothing has changed.
Come.
Matter of fact, it's got worse.
Come.
You understand? We have today, like, we think that we are slavery. You understand? This is the best form of slavery. Like, slavery is more efficient today than it was back in.
Come.
You understand? Look at all the brothers in jail,
Con.
incarcerated. And people like to say, they ain't in there for no reason. Man, it's a lot of brothers in jail that's going to die in jail that has not committed a crime. You understand? That's crafty counsel, man. You got something?
So, like you said, a question about that.
Sure.
So, I don't know the exact years, but when they started legalizing marijuana in all these states now, I'm hearing, isn't their brothers still serving time for just having found a little bit of weed on them? But they didn't. I'm asking because are they still serving time for weed charges that they didn't let them go free when marijuana? Cause
Yeah, I mean, what you bring that is so heavy.
not saying weed is good, slacky. I'm not saying that.
Right, but if you want to legalize something, how can you then hold a person in prison for what you just legalized? You understand?
Con.
And it is brothers that sit in prison right now, for not even distributing marijuana, for smoking it. For smoking marijuana. And it is a sin, you understand? So the Lord can punish the way however the Lord sees fit, you understand?
Con.
But the point being is that we're under such a devil, you understand? This oppressor is such a devil that he will legalize something and still punish you for it.
Con.
You see what I'm saying? Like, this is who we're under, man. That's crafty counsel.
Con.
Your neighborhood start to see Starbucks in it. And you start to see, the little Asian spot come. Not the Yakima joints, but they start putting stuff up on, they got the lights running through and stuff like that. What's that called? Whenever you see a Starbucks in your hood, what you know where it happened? Gentrification.
Con.
Absolutely.
Con.
That's how you know. When you see that the so-called white man, and he in the hood and he's running with that 10-foot dog, you understand? And he's jogging through the community. Just no crafty counsel that's taking place, man. He's jogging because they ready to take that neighborhood over, you understand? Like, that's what that means. This is what they do. They sit down. Matter of fact, keep going.
Come. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 83, verse 3. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. Who's the hidden ones? Go ahead, bro.
It's like us, right, sir?
Us.
Come.
Like, we feel this truth, understand? How many of us knew that we was not African Americans? How many people know that, you was from the tribe of Judah, you was from the tribe of Gad, you was from the tribe of Benjamin, you understand?
Come.
You was a biblical Israelite. How many people knew that, you understand?
Come.
I know I didn't. I know I had no clue.
Come.
Because we are the hidden ones, you understand?
Come.
This is what the Most High is talking about, you understand? We lost our culture, we lost our tongue, we lost our identity, you understand? Like, our identity is hidden from us.
Come.
But guess what? The rest of the earth, they know who we are, man.
Come.
How do we know that? None of their records were stolen. You understand? Only our records were taken from us, you understand? But those records that these other nations had, that precedes, like, they can go back centuries, hundreds and thousands of years, and they actually got their history intact.
Come.
Because no one has taken it from them. They know who the real biblical Jews is. We just don't. You understand? We don't know where our culture should come. You understand? The Most High is bringing this out, man. Keep on.
Come. It's like it. Psalm chapter 83, verse 4. They have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation.
They said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation. You understand? This is what they do, man. Like, this is what you do when you want to cut a person off from being who they're supposed to be. One of the first things you're going to do is you're going to take their language from them.
Come.
You know what I'm saying? You're going to take their language from them. That way they can't communicate with each other.
Come.
You understand? You're going to force them to speak your tongue. You're going to force them to call themselves by your name.
Come.
You understand? You're going to force them to never, ever say that they are Israelite according to these scriptures. You understand? How do we know that that's true today in 2022? How do we know that? How the scripture just said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation. You understand? Finish that up real quick, bro.
Come. For they have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel will be no more in remembrance.
That the name of Israel will be no more in remembrance. How do we know that this is true still to this day? Because a lot of people like to say, this is the Old Testament. This is something back in the day. How do we know that this scripture is pertinent and on point even for the day?
It's like, is it because most of us don't really know who we are?
No.
Don't nobody even know who the 12 tribes are. Like, I mean, even though we know who the Jews are, we don't hear them talking about.
No, what it is, if I could, if you go to any rap song, right? You can call yourself the N-word. You call Sister P, right?
God.
You call any name under the sun, and it's acceptable. But the moment you got a brother like Nick Cannon come out and say, I'm an Israelite.
God.
That's when the entire earth gets into an uproar.
God.
They cut him off. They took his show from him. They
God.
stopped his money from coming in. To the point where he got to sit down with a so-called rabbi, an imposter, a fake Jew, you understand?
God.
And he has to apologize for calling himself an Israelite, you understand? They say that the name of Israel will be no more and remembered, you understand? They don't want us to know that we're Israel, man.
God.
You understand? You can call yourself anything you want to call yourself.
God.
Like a person that's born a woman can actually call themselves. I don't know how many pronouns there is. I don't know count. You see what I'm saying? Like, you could be a woman and call yourself him, he. You call yourself. You could be a man and call yourself her, and everyone in the earth accepts it.
God.
You know, you should call them by what they want to be called by. You understand? And the person will look at you crazy. This earth will look at you crazy because you calling a woman her or she when they want to be called by him or he. You understand? So what's the problem with me calling myself an Israelite? You understand?
God.
Like what's so wrong about me saying I'm the real Jew?
God.
You understand? I'm the real Israelite according to these scriptures. If a woman can call herself a man, you mean to tell me I can't tell the truth and tell you who I am? You understand? Read that again, brother.
Come. Psalms chapter 83, verse 4. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel will be no more in remembrance.
The name of Israel will be no more in remembrance, you understand? They don't want us to remember nothing, you understand?
God.
When we hear the name Israel, they want us to think of what they Ashkenazi Jews and all that nonsense. You know, they want us to think of Israel. They want us to send money across seas to help these people out and all that nonsense. That's what they want us to remember.
God.
They don't want us to remember that we are the true Jews of the Bible, man.
God.
Keep going.
Come. Psalms chapter 83, verse 5. For they have consulted together with one consent.
They have consulted together with one consent. What does that mean? What does it go ahead, bro?
I mean, it's like, you got all these heathen nations, and they come together when it comes to us. Like the Arab might not like the Chinese guy, but they'll work together in our community to feed off of us.
Right. You understand? Meaning, like, there's a round table. You all hear about the round table, you feel me?
Come.
Conglomerates and all these representatives for these different nations come together. But they're consulted together with one consent. That means that they have put out some kind of decree around that table.
Come.
And every nation has agreed to it. You understand? There hasn't been a nation that has not agreed to it. Like, we think that it's a coincidence that the Asians got all the yakami joints and all the nail spots and all the hair stores in our hood, in our communities. You understand? We think it's a coincidence. It's no coincidence.
Come.
You understand? They've consulted together, and this is the agreement that they've come up with. When you come over here, man, this is where you're gonna get you. This is where you're gonna eat at. You're gonna eat in the hood. You understand? Them East Indians. That's why you see Dunkin' Donuts popping up in the hood, man.
Come.
7-Elevens. You understand? This is the East Indian gas stations. You know what I mean? Africans and East Indians, and Arabs running the gas station. You got chicken spots. Hip hop chicken. If you from Baltimore, you know what that means. You know, you got hip hop chicken. That's an Arab run joint. That's an Arab run. Like in Baltimore, we used to have a spot called Tyrone's.
Come.
We used to have Tyrone's chicken here. You feel me? It was a brother. And I mean, whenever you had a party, you see what I'm saying? You already knew. Whenever we go to Tyrone's, we're gonna get about 80 pieces of chicken for $20. You feel me? And we gonna call it that. Tyrone was out of business, man. And I mean, he had competitive prices and everything. Tyrone been put out of business. But hip hop chicken, you got a hip hop chicken in every hood right now. You understand? Like, they make sure not to space it out too far. You understand?
God.
This is them consulting together with 1%. Go ahead.
Con. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee.
They say they are confederate against thee, you understand? Like, they form an alliance and
Con.
allegiance against us, you understand?
Con.
Like, right now, they got a bill. Like, as much as blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans have been through, right now, we still have our ISUPK brothers. And some of our Ephraimite brothers, you understand? Still on that border. Still on that Texas border right now. We got our and got our children drinking out of dirty toilets, you understand? We got our young kids being kidnapped and taken sold into sex slavery right now, still on the border. And people always talk about, well, we can't let these people in our country. For sure they want to ruin our country. You understand? Like, they gotta come in the legal way. You understand? But let something happen to Ukraine. Yeah, Russia invades Ukraine, and guess what? They open up they just passed a bill where for 18 months them Ukrainians can come into the United States of America.
Wow.
You understand?
Wow.
They ain't gotta have a green card, and they ain't gotta be tested for COVID. You understand? They can come in here.
Wow.
And they gave them money for this program for 18 months, and they shouldn't suffer no kind of penalties or nothing like that. You know?
Wow. Didn't know that.
Just because of Russia invading Ukraine. You understand? Good.
It's like you said, I didn't know that, but every time a Haitian was on here on the boat, they was always blocked.
And not only on the boat, we just had the Haitians down there in
Con.
the mission to Akuyi, brothers from down to Texas went down there
Con.
and lived with them brothers. You understand? So you got people that starve, and they run from hurricanes and natural disasters. They run from military persecution. You understand? And we won't take, like, America won't take care of them people because they're Israelites.
Con.
You understand? But they'll take care of any other people. Like, they just, the so-called the wild man of the Bible. You understand? Ishmael,
Con.
the Arab. You understand? He showed them what he about. He will detonate and blow himself up without hesitation. You understand?
God.
He just shoot planes into their buildings and everything. You understand? And what do? They turn around and they let millions of them come on through into this country.
Con.
They want to set up Section 8. Like, black people, like, we think that Section 8 is only for us. Like, we think that we the recipients of the benefactors of Section 8 and welfare and we call them what they call a SNAP, you know, food stamps, the EBT and all that kind of stuff. We think that we the recipients or the benefactors of it. No, we get a small portion of that. You understand? We get a small. That's why, brother, you better not feel bad if you got a food stamp card. You feel me? Man, eat. You understand? And eat good. You understand? Because here in Park Heights, them Jewish people up there in they call it Jewtown. They call it Jewtown. You understand how disrespectful, but nevertheless, they live in Section 8 apartments up there. You understand? We think that they so much better than us and all this now. The only reason that they are above us is because America is funding them.
Con.
You understand? They live in Section 8 up there. They get free food drop-offs every week up there. You understand? They got EBT and SNAP cards. And
Wow.
they getting the real portion. You understand? Like, this is what's happening, man. Like, they are confederate against thee. Like, these nations, man, they hate us, man. That's why you don't see no black businesses in black communities.
Wow.
Like, a black man would not even think about opening up shop in Chinatown.
Con.
A black man would not think about putting a business in Little Italy. You understand? Because we already know what it is.
Con.
You know, overnight, our building might burn down. You understand?
Right.
We know our stores gonna get vandalized and our windows gonna get broke. You understand? But here it is. Every nation in the earth, they can come into the hood. You feel me? They can eat off of us, man. That's because they are confederate against you. You understand? Keep going.
Con. Slacky. Psalm chapter 83, verse 6. The tabernacles of Edom.
Tabernacles of Edom. That means the house of the so-called white man. You understand? Edom being the progenitor of the white race. You understand? Edom. The house of Edom. Go ahead.
And the Ishmaelites
The Ishmaelites. That means them Arabs too. You understand? Go ahead.
of Moab.
What's that? The Chinese.
Con.
Go ahead.
And the Hagarenes.
You go on.
Gabal and Ammon.
Listen, we get into these Ammon being the Japanese, but we really get into these African nations too. Ammon like being the Jewish Jewish man, you understand? Go ahead.
And Amalek, the Philistines, with the inhabitants of Tyre.
There we go. We talk about African nations right here now. All these nations have joined together, you understand? And they joined together with one consent. And that one consent is to oppress the children of Israel, man.
Come.
You know what I'm saying? Like, black man, we gotta realize, man, we have enemies out here, man. Real quick, let me get Lamentations 4:18. We got real enemies. Like, we think that a brother stepping on our shoe makes him an enemy to us. You feel me? Brothers, I mean, we beef over the most ridiculous reasons. You understand? And we'll hold a grudge forever because of this ridiculous reason, man. But when we have good reason to be upset, when we have good reason to realize we have a real enemy out here, you understand? We don't want to see that, man. And I blame our leaders, man. Lamentations 4:18.
Con. Lamentations chapter 4, verse 18. They hunt our steps.
They hunt our steps, man. You understand? Matter of fact, let me read that from the top, man.
Oh, same scripture. Lamentations chapter 4, verse 18. They hunt our steps.
They hunt our steps, man. You know what I'm saying? The same way, if you look at these nations out here, man, like the so-called white man, he hunts our steps. Like, how many people have heard of Duck Dynasty? You know, Duck Dynasty. The hillbillies, like, you know, they created a whistle, and when they blow into the whistle, it sounds like a duck calling and whatnot, you feel me? What it is the ducks start to come in. They can make certain noises with the duck. The duck may sound like it's in distress and whatnot. And the other ducks start to come in closer, and guess what? They can kill them then. You understand? They hunt our steps the same way they hunt them ducks. The same. Remember how many people remember Cecil Lion a couple of years ago? It was a so-called white man went over to Africa and he killed this lion, Cecil Lion. And Cecil had a wife, and Cecil had kids, and they left Cecil's family abandoned. You understand? The entire earth cried for Cecil Lion. You understand? This lion, his name was Cecil. You understand? Like, and of course, you know, the so-called white man is such a beast and the devil. You understand? He goes and kills animals without cause anyway.
Con.
Just to put their head up on a wall or something like that. You see what I'm saying? Like, but the entire earth cried for Cecil Lion. Remember what's his name? Jimmy Kimmel? He was actually on his show and he shed tears over Cecil Lion being murdered. You understand? But meanwhile, we see George Floyd get choked out in the street. You understand? We say, man, we say a devil put his knee on George Floyd's neck for 8 minutes. And we want to rationalize it. You understand? Maybe he didn't know he was killing him. You understand?
Con.
No one cries for the black man when he dies. You understand? But we cry for a damn lion.
Con.
You understand? Go ahead.
It's like, sir, if I may, too, what you're bringing out, sir, is so dynamic and it's so interesting. It's because every time a black man is killed, you notice that a couple days later they bring some extra footage somewhere to try to almost like justify what was killed. Well, they bring some extra footage to show that, you know, he was doing some type of criminal activity to justify why an officer put a bullet in his head or put his knee. They always try to, you know, justify it.
Right. What they do is they pull up some kind of criminal history.
Con.
You know, they'll flash that such and such. He was long convicted of assault, gun charges, boom, but he was murdered by the police the other day.
Con.
You know, like, this is what they do. You understand? They hunt our steps. You understand? Like. Con.
Lamentations chapter 4, verse 18. That we cannot go in our streets.
That we cannot go in our streets, you understand? Like, for any black man, we all know. Listen, unless you come into the UPK, you understand the protection that you have of the Most High, you understand? As a black man in this world, it's a very dangerous place, man.
Con.
You understand? Like, you can go out, you can actually. Let's say a black man going through something one night, you understand? He's home and he just wants to go out and take a little ride or something like that. That could cost him his life, man.
Gone.
You understand? Brother just want to get some fresh air, you know, it's summer night. Maybe you want to go and hit the store, grab a snack or something. You see what I'm saying? Like,
Gone.
you can lose our life, you understand? You go ahead, these police, they got it, and they set these traps up. They call them quotas. You understand? Like if you're from any hood, you know what a quota is. You understand? These police, they got to make a certain amount of arrests, or they want to get reprimanded or whatnot. You feel me? So you'll see periodically when they haven't made enough arrests on them, they be like, damn, at every corner, man, they got a car pulled over. You feel me? They try to make quota. You understand? They ride behind you and try to intimidate you for miles upon miles. You understand? And the first mistake you make because this police is on your back, and you know that they're prone to killing their brother. You understand? The first mistake you make, he's pulling you over. You understand? Like they hunt our steps, man. That we can't even go on the streets, man. Every time a black man walks out of his house, every time a Latino man or Native man walks outside of his house, listen, his life is in danger, man. And we all know that. We all know that. That's why most of us don't like dealing with the so-called police. We don't like dealing with the law, you understand? Because we know at any moment they can take our lives, man, and be justified according to what they think. You understand? All they gotta say is what? What's the first thing a police officer say when they kill a brother?
Wait, I fear for my life.
I fear for my life. Though his brother was running the opposite direction, and you shot him 8 times in his back, you feared for your life. I ain't making this up, that actually happened. You know what I'm saying? Like, they hunt our stuff that we can't go in our streets, man. Like, this is our real enemy. You know what I'm saying? So why must they be punished? Like a lot of people say, you know, a lot of times people, this is the first question they ask. So why do y'all hate white people? Have you ever heard that? Have you heard that?
Yeah.
Why do y'all hate white people? You understand? Listen, we don't hate nothing about the color white. You understand? We got white socks. You got white t-shirts. Like, it ain't nothing better than the first white tee, you feel? I mean, that's our culture. You see what I'm saying? We ain't got nothing with the issue with the color white. But let me tell you what we got an issue with. Let me get Obadiah. Let me get Obadiah 1 and 10.
It's the book of Obadiah, chapter 1, verse 10. For thy violence against thy brother, Jacob.
Matter of fact, start at verse 9.
This is the book of Obadiah, chapter 1, verse 9. And thy mighty men, O Timan, shall be dismayed.
This is talking about the so-called white man, you understand? It's always, they say, like mighty man. Like the so-called white man is he's a mighty power on this earth right now, you understand? O Timan shall be dismayed, you understand? Keep going.
To the end that every one of the mount of Esau.
That every one, this is very important, that every one of the mount of Esau is the progenitor of the so-called white man, you understand? This says that every one of the mount of Esau. That means, listen, like, this is so heavy because Christianity will teach you all of our oppressors aren't bad. You know what I'm saying? The so-called white man, all of them aren't bad. You got some good ones. You know what I'm saying? Name me a good devil. You know what I'm saying? Name me a good slave master. You know what I'm saying? Well, he lets me get off early. You know what I'm saying? Like, he helps me with my bills from time to time. You know what I'm saying? Like, he provides staff luncheons from time to time. You know what I'm saying?
Stop.
I was watching a class yesterday. They had one over diet chapter, this chapter. He had said that the old team. Yeah, he said that they were the Germans.
Right.
He said it was the smartest out of.
That's just another family of the so-called white man. You know? Like Ukraine is another family of the so-called white man. Russia is, they all one family. They just different, they like cousins.
Yeah, I was just
You see what I'm saying? That's why I say, like, they the mighty men of the earth. You understand? Like, so-called white man's running the earth right now.
Come.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but the point I want to bring out is that the scriptures, like the Most High just said to the end that every one of the mount of Esau. Does that mean that so-called good white person at the job that we think is one of us, Eminem? That's what the Lord said. This ain't what we saying.
To the end that every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by the slaughter.
May be cut off by slaughter. You understand? That means the Most High is going to cut them off, and He's going to kill them. Man.
Con.
That's what slaughter means. But why is the Most High just doing this because He hates the so-called white man? Let's find out. Keep going.
Book of Obadiah, chapter 1, verse 10. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee.
For thy violence against thy brother Jacob. Who is Jacob, man? Jacob is the progenitor of the black race, you understand? Black meaning the blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, the 12 tribes of Israel, you understand? Because of the so-called white man's violence towards us, the Most High is going to annihilate them, man.
Con.
You understand? He's going to cut them off from remembrance.
Con.
You understand? It ain't because they're so-called white. You understand? It's because of their crimes, man.
Con.
You understand? We as black people do not understand justice because we've never had it.
Con. Right. Con. Con. Con.
You understand?
So it's just what you're bringing out is dynamic because it's funny because when the white man wants to exact justice, he has no was it partial? I don't know if I'm saying the right word. Like when he bombed Nagasaki, he didn't think, well, there's women and children down there. He just took the city out in Hiroshima. Or when he went over there and when he was him and Bin Laden and was going at it, it was killing children on him too.
Right. Listen, and guess what? The Christians understood that.
Come.
You know what I'm saying? Like Christianity is supposed to be non-violent, turn the other cheek. We all should overcome and we all should get along, right? The Rainbow Coalition, you see what I'm saying?
Come.
That's Christianity right there, a big melting pot, right? But when the so-called white man wants his justice and he says, you know what, we're gonna go over here and kill. You got Christians right now. That's telling you that wants the United States to go over there and fight Russia. You understand? Go ahead.
They like 3 times they came up to me, military walking around there. Our boy, where I work at, they flooded that. They walking around, they recruiting.
Yeah.
They walk up to everybody. Want to join the military? They done did it like 4 times.
And you know why they're doing it? Because they want to put us on the front lines to fight their war.
Come.
You understand? They want to put us on the front lines to fight their battles. Because the true spirit of Esau, the so-called white man, is cowardness. You understand?
Come. Right.
Like he's a coward by nature. You understand? Like don't get his food and hear all these war stories of World War I, World War II, these Purple Hearts and all that nonsense. Realize that they were black men giving that life for them.
Come.
You understand? It's black men that's on the front lines. Going first into combat and stuff like that. When them bombs dropping and people start looking off, you feel me? It's us running into the war. A lot of them, but we don't realize, a lot of them tuck their tails and run. You understand? They cowards by nature, man. Go ahead.
It's like you said, I may add this, but what's so, I don't know if the word is ironic or what oxymoron. It's like the black man has been the most patriotic person in every war.
Right.
But everybody that the white man has fought against and destroyed, he'll help rebuild them.
Right.
Like when he fought against Germany,
right.
He started rebuilding Germany with the Marshall Plan.
Right.
Or when he bombed Nagasaki and Hiroshima, he had programs and stuff like that to build them out, and then gave the people that he took in the internment camps, each family $20,000.
Right.
So everybody that he's fought against, or had a beef against, after he fights them and crushes them, then he helps to build them back up, right. Gives them money, gives them sanctuaries. There's nothing for us.
Hey, listen, man, what you're saying is so heavy. It's a great point because he's doing it with the Arab right now.
Come.
Like he just was at war with the Arab.
Right, come.
The crisis in the Middle East, you understand? Like he just was at war with the Arabs.
Come.
And now they come into a city near you.
Come. Well,
They
God.
are coming into our neighborhoods, man. And guess what? Them businesses that they about to start opening up, and them lavish apartments and stuff that they open up, guess what? We fund them.
Come.
Blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. We're funding their existence in this country, you understand? So the same people like you just brought out, the same people that they go to war with and annihilate, they then bring the remnants of them over here. And build them back up.
Come.
This is what they do, man.
Come.
You understand? Like, but because of their violence against us, man, the Most High is going to annihilate them, man. Like we like Christianity has destroyed us, man.
Come.
Our so-called leaders have destroyed us, man. You know, Jamal Bryant, T.D. Jakes, Creflo Dollar, they sitting up there, they preaching this prosperity nonsense, you feel me? They don't know nothing about these scriptures, man. This is why every black, Latino, Native American, man, woman, and child need to come out that Christian church, man.
Come.
I remember it was a pastor, or whatever the hell you want to call him, you understand? He called himself having a vision from the Lord, you understand? I'm feeling it now, the hope. It's coming to you. See what I'm saying? You know, the Lord is putting it in my spirit that we have enemies, you know? You know, we gotta fight, you know, anything that goes against the Lord, man, it's an enemy. I said, what the enemy look like? Well, you know, the enemy, you know, it could be anything, like, you know, Satan moves a certain way, you know, all this nonsense. I say, could it be that our enemy is the so-called white man? Could it be that he's Satan in the flesh? Nah, bro, you don't want to think like that. You understand? You can't think like this. This is what Christianity teaches. You understand? But they'll get up there and they will bash their brother on that pulpit. You understand?
Come.
They will tell his sister that she needs to leave that brother. You know why? Because they unequally yoked, because she make 100,000 a year. He may only make 30.
Come.
You understand? They break and destroy families, man. But we'll tell you to love our oppressor.
Come.
Like it's the last slice of bread on the face of the earth.
Come.
And this is how Christianity and these so-called wicked, these wicked Negroes have destroyed us, man. Because they don't tell us who our enemy is, so therefore we keep being beguiled. We keep getting destroyed and hurt and murdered, you understand? By people that we shouldn't even be dealing with, man.
Come.
You understand? First thing they say, well, we gotta educate ourselves. We gotta do this, we gotta do that. Every time we do it, they burn it down. You got Tulsa, Oklahoma. You got Rosewood. You got many other communities that they have completely annihilated. You understand? They've sent bombs and they sent hit squads in and leveled entire cities. You understand?
Come.
That black people have built from the ground up. You understand? Seneca Village up in Harlem. You understand? Like they've annihilated communities, nations of black people. You understand? The North American Indians. I mean, goddamn, like the Buffalo used to run wild there, you know, just free.
Come.
You understand? They annihilated our North American Indian brothers, you understand?
Come.
Our Gadite brothers.
Come.
Last time you seen a Gadite family walking down the street.
Come.
It's a shame, man. This is what they do. You know what I'm saying? Let me get Psalms 83 and 12, brother.
Come. It's the book of Psalms, chapter 83, verse 12. Who said, let us take to ourselves the houses of the Most High in possession?
Listen, and this is it. Who said, let us take to ourselves the houses of the Most High in possession? You understand? Like, this is how they feel, man. They said, man, we're going to take the Lord's people and we're going to make them a possession of ours. You understand? This is what happened, man. We still slaves in this society, man. This society is not it's not a rest period for us. This society is pure hell, man. It's a punishment that we're serving out right now, man. And this so-called white man that's on top of us, he is not our buddy. You gotta get that away from our mind, man, because listen, when you think that this oppressor is your friend, when you think that this oppressor is your buddy, if you feel that way wholeheartedly, that means that you will actually rise up against the Most High and his people.
Come.
You protect his devil, man.
Come.
That's what it's going to come to.
Come.
As we just read how the Lord is going to take vengeance on that. When the Lord starts taking vengeance, who you going to stand with? You still going to protect this so-called devil, man, from the fury of the Lord?
Come.
You know, people, and what I'm saying is people don't think they will do it. But you do it every day that you choose that devil over your brother, man.
Come.
You understand? Every day you go to war and you become an enemy to a brother, man, and you don't take the proper steps of resolving that issue, man. What it do is it puts the spirit of the so-called oppressor on you.
God.
You understand? It's not in a black man's spirit to be violent towards each other. But like, we not violent people, man. Like brothers like to chill, man.
God.
You see what I'm saying? We not violent people, but we learn violence from our oppressor.
Right.
You understand? We not gangsters, but we learn how to be gangsters by following our oppressor.
Right.
We not drug dealers, but we sell drugs because we follow our oppressor. You understand? We not whoremongers, but we learn how to be pimps because we watch our oppressor. You see what I'm saying? So we emulate the culture of our oppressor.
Right.
And then you know what they call it? They call it black culture, then.
Right.
A
Con.
lot of black people think smoking weed is black culture, you feel me?
Con.
It's not. You see what I'm saying? That's not our culture. It's not our culture to get high and to be sedated all the damn time and be weak. You see what I'm saying?
Con.
That's not our culture, man.
Con. Con. What con?
Imitating the culture of our oppressor every time we do it. So we're not knocking brothers. A brother can have any kind of affliction. Bring you in your affliction here into the UPK, man. You understand? And learn how to be a man again. You understand? This is where brothers gotta come. Like a lot of people feel, this is a little side bro. A lot of people feel like, man, I don't really want to come in there. Like this how you know I don't really want to come in there because you know I'm kind of dealing with something, you know.
Okay.
I gotta get over this little issue first before I don't want to come like a brother. Man, bring your ass in here, man. You understand? Like this ain't the Christian church, man. Bring you and your afflictions into this school, man.
Con. Right.
You remember, like you dealing with your brother. You understand? We can handle it. You see what I'm saying? But I promise you got an attitude that you got to get perfect before you come in here, you'll never come. You see what I'm saying? You'll never come in here with that attitude. You understand? You come in here and sit, and this is where you get your treatment at. You understand? You don't get yourself right and then go into the treatment center. You see what I'm saying? Nobody heals himself and go to the hospital. You go to the hospital, you get healed. You see what I'm saying?
Con.
You come to this truth to learn how to live your life, man. You come into this truth, into the UPK, you learn how to keep these laws, statutes, and commandments. You ain't doing it outside here. You understand? You ain't doing that. This ain't the Christian church out. You see what I'm saying? Like, whatever you think, as a black man, woman, and child, you better run into these schools, man. You understand? Like, it's time right now. You understand? We see what's going on the earth right now.
Con.
If I could, drop that. Let me get, Isaiah 51 and 22, double check.
It's like it's Isaiah 51 and 22.
Come.
Come on. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 51, verse 22. Thus saith the Most High, our power, thy power that pleadeth the cause of his people.
How did the Most High plead the cause of his people, man? Like, did the Most High beg and like, you know, we plead when you ask him, like, did the Most High beg and ask, like, you know, can you stop doing this to my people? Like, is that how the Most High pleads with people? How did the Most High plead?
Let me just.
Say it again?
Waving them off.
Like, you gonna kill him.
Con, that's what I was thinking.
That's how you plead.
Con, that's what I was thinking.
I'm going to kill you until you change your mind, you know? It said, thus saith the Most High, thy power that pleadeth the cause of his people. Keep going.
Behold, I have taken out thy hand the cup of trembling.
He said, I've taken out of thy hand the cup of trembling. You understand? This cup of trembling is what every black man has experienced in his life. Every Latino, Native American man. When I say black, I'm including Latinos and Native Americans in it. Just black is just a covering of it. When we talking about all 12 tribes, just to be, you know, be for sure. You feel me? I've taken out of thy hand the cup of trembling. Every black man has experienced this cup of trembling. You understand? That cup of, like what LeBron said. LeBron said it a few years ago. LeBron is he's a billionaire.
I didn't know that.
LeBron is a billionaire. He said it's a dangerous place. He said this country is a dangerous place to be black. You understand? So you take a brother like LeBron, he's a billionaire, and guess what? He still has that cup of trembling. We being poor, that we only got this cup of trembling because we ain't got no money. No. They got their cup of trembling too, you understand? Keep going.
Come. I have taken out thy hand the cup of trembling.
Most High say, I've taken out of thine hand the cup of trembling. So that fear that we have, the Most High is going to take that fear out of our hands, man. You understand? Go ahead.
Even the dregs of the cup of my fury.
Even the dregs of the cup of my fury. The cup of the Most High's fury is what you see in Baltimore City. You understand? To the tune of 350 murders a year. You see what I'm saying? That's the cup of the Lord's fury. Most High said, I'm going to take this out of your hand, and I'm going to take away my fury. Keep going.
Thou shalt no more drink it again.
Thou shalt no more drink it again. You understand? That means that the fear and murder that every black man has experienced, you understand? Like the atrocities that we've been through, you understand? The Most High said, guess what? I'm going to take it out your hand that you should not drink it no more again. You understand? Keep going.
Verse 23.
Here's the important part right here.
But I will put it into the hand of them that afflict thee.
See, but I will put it into the hand of them that afflict thee.
Come.
Most High ain't pull it out. You understand? Most High ain't get rid of it. But he took it out of our hands, and he's going to put it in our oppressor's hands.
Come.
Is this happening right now?
Right.
Yeah, it's happening. We starting to see it, right? The so-called white man is trembling right now. He is scared, you understand? You see the bombs dropping over Ukraine, you understand? If you work on the slavery and you got oppressors there, every chance they get, they listen to talk, they hearing talk radio, CNN, they watching the news, you understand? They are up on every bomb that's being dropped, you understand? They are scared right now. They are trembling because they know that their kingdom is coming to an end, man. The Lord is taking that cup from us. Like black people, listen. Unless you are heavy indoctrinated into this society, man, like I don't be around enough brothers. I don't be around brothers in the world like that necessarily. You feel me? I'll be around my UPK brother. You understand? But unless you indoctrinated into this society, I don't see no brothers that's we chilling. We the same way, you feel me? You understand? Until they get a party out in Annapolis and they say we gotta pray for Ukraine. You see what I'm saying? But for the most part, brothers are chilling. The so-called white man is trembling, man.
Come.
He is scared. You understand? Because he knows them bombs are coming to a city closer to him. You understand? Keep going.
But I will put it into the hand of them that afflict thee.
Of them that afflict thee. They afflict us, man. He's going to put it into the so-called white man's hand because he afflicts us. You understand? Keep going.
Which have said to thy soul, bow down.
Hey, listen, this is so heavy too. Like, he didn't say that they said it to us. He said, which is said to thy soul. Like, he ain't even speaking to the person at this point. Like, he's speaking past your initial representative. You feel me? He's speaking to the soul. What did he say?
Bow down.
He said, bow down. You understand? This is what he say. Bow down. You understand? Like, when we go to a slavery and we gotta work 80 hours a week. Yeah, I mean, gas prices, you know, damn near $10 a gallon. You see what I'm saying? So you can't really do nothing outside of working in this country now. I mean, like, you can't keep filling your tank up. You feel me? You work 80 hours a week, they ain't giving a pay raise.
Come.
You understand? If you're not getting a pay raise, but the cost of living is going up substantially. You understand? They tell our souls to bow down, man. We are serving them. We oppressing, guess what? We gotta do it with a smile on our face. You better not look angry. You better not look like you got an attitude coming to that slavery, you know? You better be eager, you better be smiling, you better be showing your teeth. You know what I'm saying? Otherwise you're gonna be counted as what? An angry what? Angry black man.
Come.
You understand? Keep going.
That we may go over, and thou hast laid thy body as the ground, and as the street to them that went over.
This is talking about every murder that's been committed against our people, man. Every brother that's been murdered, you understand? This is that scripture, you understand? Like, this is who they are, man. The Lord has something for them. The Lord is going to put that cup of trembling in their hand, man. He's starting already. They walk around scared, they you know. I mean, like, I went to the slavery a couple of nights ago, and every devil was in the room watching CNN. They wasn't having a conversation. It was quiet as a church mouse in there. You see what I'm saying? They scared, man. Yes, sir.
I want So, when this time comes, which is coming soon, I hear both things, like, you will be like ruling over them, or they will die, like, wipe them out.
No, this is going to be a time period in which we are ruling over them. And they are definitely going to slavery. Understand? They are going to slavery. We see that in Revelation. You know what I'm saying? He that taketh them into captivity shall go into captivity. But remember, like, that's just a portion of time. You know what I'm saying? He's eventually going to be wiped out completely. Where though, like, you'll see him in the museum, and we'll tell our kids, hey man, one day this person used to run the earth. He was the devil of the earth. He deceived the entire earth and made everybody think he was the strongest man in the world. You feel me? So they got to still serve out a punishment. And the Lord is going to annihilate them. You feel me? But,
And other brothers that are not in the truth, I would take the angle like religious.
well, this is why we go out to the street corners. This is why we're in the class right now. You know what I'm saying? The Lord has sent his priests and prophets into the earth to wake his people up. Man.
So eventually all of them will be woken.
No. You know, that's our will, you understand? You know what I mean? Like, see, here's the thing. And the scriptures say two-thirds shall perish, right? Right. Here's the thing, we don't want none of us to perish, you understand? And we want to change the Most High's mind so that the Most High do not have to kill two-thirds of our people, man. This is why we go to camp. This is why we come to class, you see what I'm saying? This is why we sacrifice so much of our personal lives, you understand? And we commit our lives to serving the Lord, you feel me? So that two-thirds of our brother don't have to die. We can change the mind of the Most High. And he said, you know what, I'm gonna save all black people. You understand? Like that's the work we're putting in. You see what I'm saying? The Lord has sent his priests and prophets into this earth, man, to call his people back. So every time we go into the corner, this is what we're doing. Every time we're on the streets and we bringing out these precepts and we telling our people we gotta come back and keep these laws, statutes, and commandments. We trying to say that's the real love of the Most High right there. We trying to get our brothers to stop knowing what they're doing and coming to this truth, man. You see what I'm saying? It's dire. So the fact that you here is because brothers sacrificed. It's because Commander General Yohana sacrificed. You understand? It's because Commander General Yohana held that fort down. You see what I'm saying? That's why we're all here.
Right.
You understand? Like, I've been through what? I've been here in UPK what?
4 years.
About 4 years? About 4 years, man. You see what I'm saying? But we was all once outside these doors, man. But the Lord is calling his people back into the fold, you feel me? And we don't want none of our brothers to perish because we understand, man, like, we understand that our brothers have been oppressed and deceived, you feel me? And a lot of times, what you're going to see is that our people, we fight for the oppressor harder than the oppressor fights for himself. You see what I'm saying? And when you see situations like that, unfortunately, sometimes you'll see brother or sister, they get the same punishment that the Lord had intended for our oppressor. But because you want to join and you want to fight with them, you gotta get punished for it. You see what I'm saying? So that's why we try to call our brothers out of them different entities. You see what I'm saying? And try to call our brothers back into the fold now while we still can, you feel me? If I could drop that, Uriah, let me get Isaiah 14:1.
Sorry. Isaiah 14:1. So, it's the book of Isaiah, chapter 14, verse 1. For the Most High will have mercy on Jacob.
And the Most High will have mercy on Jacob. And the Most High is going to have mercy. This is what we're just talking about. He's going to have mercy on blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. You understand? Like, this is what the Most High is doing right now. He's having mercy on us. Keep going.
And will yet choose Israel.
And yet choose Israel. Keep going.
And set them in their own land.
And set them in our own land. Like, we're going to have our own land once again. You understand? We're going to be the dominant, authoritative power in that land as well. There won't be a government over us telling us what to do. You understand? We will be the government. We will be the leaders of the earth again. You understand? Keep going.
And the strangers shall be joined with them.
And the strangers shall be joined with them. Here it is, like, we done told everybody on the earth that the so-called white man can't be able to be the king of God and that he's got to die. But right here it says, the strangers shall be joined with them. People.
And they shall cleave to the house of Jacob.
They shall cleave to the house of Jacob. So now, these strangers, these devils, they done joined, they done cleaved unto us, and they pretty much walked into our land with us, right? The Bible's a lie, right? You can't know what we're talking about, right? Let's keep on.
Isaiah chapter 14, verse 2. And the people shall take them.
And the people shall take them. You understand? When you take someone, you don't ask, right? Like we were taken from the west coast of Africa, right?
God.
We did not come willingly. We were took. Keep on.
And bring them to their place.
Bring them to their place. We're going to bring them into our place, into our home, man.
God.
Go ahead.
And the house of Israel shall possess them.
And the house of Israel shall possess them. You understand? Meaning that they are going to be our property.
God.
They are going to be a possession. The same way you own your shoes and your pants and your clothes, the so-called white man is going to be a possession. Keep going.
In the land of the Most High for servants and handmaids.
In the land of the Most High for servants and handmaids. You understand? They are going to be slaves. You understand? Keep going.
And they shall take them
They
captives.
shall take them captives. You understand? Like we are going to take them captives. Keep going.
Whose captives they were.
Who captives we were. Like we have been their captives. You understand? When we got off the boats and stuff right now, from the time we got off the boats to now, we have been their captives, man. The Most High saying, listen, they are going to be your captives. Keep going.
And they shall rule over their oppressors.
And we shall rule over our oppressors, man. Keep going.
Verse 3. And it shall come to pass in the day that the Most High shall give thee rest from thy sorrow, from thy fear, and from the hard bondage wherein thou wast made to serve.
The Lord is going to give us rest, man. The Lord is going to give us rest from this oppressor, from this beast, you understand? And this oppressor that we're under, the so-called white man, is going to be a captive and a handmaid. You understand? A servant, a slave to a black man, to a Latino man, to a Native American man, you understand? And I'm talking about the nice ones. You understand? Like, it's so funny to me because when we talk about black people, we put all black people in the same boat. You understand?
God.
But when it comes to this oppressor and receiving his judgment, we want to individualize.
God. Right.
You understand? Well, you can't say that about all of them, but when they talk about black people, they talk about us as a whole.
God.
You understand? Listen, the Lord deals with nations. He's not dealing with them. You're not going to get an individual punishment. Not saying the Lord won't punish an individual, but we talking about nations here. The black, like we serving out a punishment right now. It was still some of us keeping the law, statutes, and commandments even when we went into slavery. But because we were one nation, the Lord put all of us into slavery. You understand? The same way the Lord will do that to his own chosen people, he's going to do that to the people who oppress his people. You understand? And we got to understand, man, this is how we, keeping these law, statutes, and commandments, man, is how we come at and take our power back, man. We don't have to lift up arms. We don't have to go out there and put hands on nobody. What you got to do is come into this truth, man, learn how to keep these law, statutes, and commandments. And guess what? The Lord will fight for us, and the Lord will punish our enemies. You understand? And with that, I want to say shalom, Baltimore. And saying we at ISUPK, the Israelite School of University Prep, announcement straight out of 1 West 125th Street, all New York, under Commander General Hunter. If it's not under Commander General Hunter, it is not the truth. You understand? We've been bringing this truth on since 1969. That blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans are the true biblical Jews of the Bible. The so-called white man is the devil that the Bible speaks of. You understand? And with that, we're gonna bring up Officer Uriah Allah for reading of the security announcements. I'm gonna say shalom, Baltimore.
Let's give that powerful priest another hand. Great lesson tonight. Security Security announcements. We have the ISUPK on 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Command of General Hunter. New rules for brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes to the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves to the world. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother or sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother or sister will get permission from the head to marry. Times, which is a commandment. You can find this in Numbers 18:21 and Malachi 3:8-10. Means 10th in Hebrew and is pronounced Ma'asherah. 10% of everything of any increase the Lord gives you give to the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund, free will offering for priests, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like to give. Upcoming holy convocation. We got the Passover coming up, folks. In April, I think we might be about like 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks away. Right, so make sure we're on the Akim and Aquakin are getting ready for that. It's going to be at Cocoa Beach, Florida. Remind Akim and Aquakin to check in on social media such as ISUPK.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and so on for the ISUPK events and materials. If a brother wants to be a trooper in the school, then he needs to start wearing all black, which includes black boots, shirts, pants, headband, or scarf. With that, Amani, which means to stand. Men of Israel, we're going to give one courtesy salute to the teacher. Men of Israel, Amayim Shabbat, Amayim Barak, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shabbat Rakatah,
Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shabbat Rakatah,
Yahweh Matah, class dismissed.
A good break. Sometimes a follower is a soldier trying to find a good ship. Just when you in hell, how did you excel? With them the breath of life, unbelieving fairy tale. Listen well to what I tell. No calling can cause pain. Something that a rebel knows very well. Can't you tell I was sent from the Lord? Got a tongue like a two-edged sword. With his